This building was formerly the railway station. It was located just south of here and it was turned around when it was put on this location. And it is now used to house our local history.
My role here at the Arish History Station is that of caretaker. In conjunction with Laurelie King, we look after the existing collection and we develop the collection as much as we can through research. Well, Arish has a population of about 600 people. We have our school still running. We have only 2 shops in town now. Back in the 50s, it was a bustling community. It was called the Maria Creek Soldier Settlement. So Francis Paxton Martin was the supervisor of the Maria Creek Soldier Settlement. And he had a meeting with the local men. So they decided to call the town Arish.
A man from Adelaide rang Murray one day and says, "I've just been looking at your website. I have a sign here. Would you be interested in it? It's a prop from the Light Horseman," and it says Arish in English and Arabic.
The thing that happened with Harry Chevelle in Arish was that there was actually only 2 casualties for the taking of Arish. They were on their way to Magdabar and Beersheba, and there were only 2 Turks in town, in the village of Arish. And of course it was an instrumental village because it was a watering point. So Harry Chevelle came out of the desert, circled the town of Arish at dawn. And when the locals were waking up, here were these soldiers on their horses all around their town. Well, the local people and the Turks had a preconceived idea of the mad Australians in the light horse. And so the guns got thrown down, the hands got thrown in the air, and the town was taken. But unfortunately, 2 of the soldiers couldn't wait to get down to the ocean to swim and bathe, and the beach had not been scanned for mines. So a landmine blew up and killed 2 of the soldiers. The town of Arish came to be because of the Soldier Settlement Act of 1916-17, and ballots of land were made available to the returning soldiers from World War I. When the blocks were developed, I think the site would probably have been chosen because of access to water, to give 50-20 or 60-20, which means a 50-acre cane farm, 20-acre horse paddock, which were never actually usually together. They were usually a couple of miles apart. When they got here, they were faced with standing scrub. They had help from the government for the first 10 acres. There was a government plot here who grew cane to cut billets for planting of sugar cane. Trees were dynamited, incredibly manual hard work with horses and dragging stumps away and getting some land to plant. The hand harvest goes onto a truck wagon, which was on a portable line, which was all hand lifted into place every season, which brought you to a derrick. Each committee had its own derrick. We had biblical names from near Arish for our derrick. We had Mardi, Jaffa and Arish derricks. The derrick lifts the bundle of cane from your wagon to the Queensland rail line, which in 1923, when the first crop was cut, meant that it went either to South Johnson Mill or further south to Garoo, which is on the other side of Townsville. We had a place called the Hole in the Wall, which was a small area inside a wall of scrub. And because a lot of people were bachelors, they lived in the Hole in the Wall for some time as workers for the administrator. So we had one fellow living in the Hole in the Wall in a wardrobe. And we had a couple who lived here, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, and every year, the beginning of winter, Mrs. Jones brought every character at the hole in the wall a blanket, a fresh blanket. The flavour of Arish from the very first point was that it was full of madmen, really. There's, you know, shell-shocked fellows, damaged, psychologically damaged fellows, coming back from World War One. And we have the journal from the settlement, so we know the details. We can tell you every sheet of iron, nail, hammer and shovel that was given to those men. You were not given your block. You had to pay your block off on a long-term process. The cottages were around £260, £250. Your whole allocation was around about £600. So that included everything. That included your plants and for your cane.
Now, if you came in and took a ballot that was already going, you took the existing debt over. So it wasn't an easy ride for any of them, and they had to have true grunt to make it through.
The supervisor of the settlement had a meeting.
What are we going to name the streets after? And they decided they'd name it after the generals. And the generals that got the highest votes got the streets named after them. This is Royston, Ryrie, Wilson, Glasgow.
And recently we've been able to get a federal government grant to do a biography and a photograph of each of the generals on a beautifully handmade sign by our local blacksmith. The region prospered from the planting of cane onward because there was wonderful timber supplies. It was of course being all cut down for the cane farms. We had 3 sawmills in Arish. We had a ply mill. We had 2 or 3 cafes. We had the movies at the hall. This is a photo of the RSL Memorial Hall, and you're looking at the 10 o'clock march on Anzac Day, and the group of soldiers on the left are our original settlers. It's been a great source for our portraits of our soldiers. Oh, I think it's just something you do because you love doing it, and it's a fabulous hobby, and this is a fabulous little doll's house to play in.